America. Hello everyone. Happy 4th of July. How y'all doing? Type something if you're in here. I feel like the chat is not, whatever. So anyway, welcome to Talk About It, the official podcast series of Phenomenology Club. I haven't really, had many episodes of this recently because of current events and shit going on. I've already over-explained myself on the past few episodes about what I'm feeling, what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, but we are very active in our Phenomenology Club Discord server every day, literally every fucking day, all damn day fucking long. So if you want to hang out with me and us, because we're a club, then hop on over to Patreon, patreon.com/phenomenologyclub, or go to the website also to learn more about our club, www.phenomenology.club, and get on in to our fucking club and do stuff with us. Fuck America, how dare you? How dare you? Anyway, happy 4th of July to all my American listeners and all my non-American listeners. And there's really nothing happy about it, right? Except that we're all doing something at the same time. And there we go. We've established some sense of camaraderie and shared activity. And that's enough reason to celebrate, or to at least come on here and talk together, do something, especially since most of us still can't leave our fucking houses. You know what we did today in Phenomenology Club? We had been raging hard for America since 9 a.m. As soon as I woke up, I was like, oh shit, it's 4th of July. I'm going to watch Team America just like I watched Team America last 4th of July. And I'm pretty sure I watched it the one before. This is my new tradition. For some reason, 4th of July is like my favorite holiday just because it's so stupid. I mean, it's not stupid. I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's funny. It's funny how people just go balls to the wall over it. And I love, like, fucking MIDI renditions of Bruce Springsteen songs, as you can tell. I just played some of it, you know. So I watched Team America, and then we listened to patriotic playlists on YouTube, like, Have You Forgotten? You know, that kind of shit. We did that for, like, 3 hours after watching Team America. And then was listening to other America stuff. We had a whole narrative arc, you know, it went all the way into Europe. I don't even know if I'm making sense, whatever. Hope you're all doing okay, whatever you're doing. Hope you're not partying, because as we know, those of us who live in America, we know that the more we are casting caution to the wind, aw, thanks, I love you too. The more we are casting caution to the wind and opening up and lessening restrictions and shit, the more the rates of this deadly virus is fucking spreading. So I don't give a fuck what you feel, okay? The rest of us have taken it upon ourselves to be responsible, so you can be responsible too. Stop going outside. Stay inside and wait for that shit to be done, okay? Invest in an air conditioner, whatever you were gonna buy. If you don't have an air conditioner, don't buy what you were gonna buy. Buy an air conditioner instead and stay your ass in home. That's what I've done. Anyway, so something I was thinking about as I was listening to this patriotic playlist. Every song talks so much about freedom, which, you know, it's not like I've learned something new in doing this. I mean, freedom is the word. Probably the most said word, and talks about how fucking great America is, and all these songs, all this literature about America's the best. It's the best because we have freedom, right? And growing up as an American, you know, this idea is pounded into your head over and over from as soon as you are able to comprehend language. We live in a free country. Hello, sup? We live in a free country, you know. This is freedom fucking central. The Statue of Liberty. Liberty meaning freedom. This shit ain't free, but I mean, it's interesting what this endless harping on this point, I think, does to the American psyche. Because growing up as an American, I have to admit, I was brainwashed just like all of us were into feeling as if, yeah, I am so lucky to live in this place where I'm free. I live in the most free country in the world, you know. And this is an idea even after I heard my first Rage Against the Machine song and started to become critical of America. I still preserve within myself some sentiment that I was free. And I am lucky to be in this place where I am free. You know? But I was thinking today, I'm like, you know what? What the fuck even is freedom? Because freedom is kind of an interesting concept, right? Because it's like, you can't, or maybe you can, this is the question I'll pose to you all. Are we free? I mean, to remove the context of America, or to put it on the shelf for 1 second. In our most natural state, the state of nature, I'm butt naked in nature. Am I free? If no governments exist, no politics, no nothing, no even tribal societies, I'm just butt naked in fucking nature. Am I free? You might say yes. But this is because I've asked a very specific question where there is some sort of context established. But in our most natural state, is it rational to say that we are free? Because what is freedom? Freedom is a thing that is contingent on something. You are only free in proximity to something. And the reason I was thinking about this, oh yeah, I remember, because we were talking about this when we were listening to our patriotic playlist. Freedom isn't free, whatever the fuck, all these great songs about America. I was thinking, like, I don't think I ever felt super patriotic, even though I felt like, you know, I live in a free country or whatever the fuck. And I was thinking about, like, why do people from like the Midwest and the South of America, for those of you who don't live in America, I'm painting you a picture right now. The people mostly in the South, in the Midwest, this is where you see a lot of the super patriotic people talking about freedom so hard and shit. And it's like, why are they so fucking patriotic? And why are they always going on about freedom? And I was thinking, I think it's because, especially in the South, you know, these states that have such a history of racism, slavery. I mean, we all do, but you know what I'm saying. The South has a very particular relationship to slavery for obvious reasons. I feel like in these more explicitly racist states, the people who inhabit these places have this sort of feeling more of the presence of an other person that exists and is threatening them in some way, threatening their freedom. They are an obstacle to this freedom. And I feel like you only really feel this need to be patriotic and harp on this idea of freedom if you feel as if there is some sort of immediate threat to your freedom, right? Because freedom only exists as a concept because there's the threat of not being free, right? What is freedom? Let's look it up. Freedom. Freedom isn't free. Freedom.
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 Freedom. Definition number 1. The quality or state of being free, such as, and here we go, 1A, the absence of necessity, coercion, or constraint in choice or action. See? The absence of coercion or constraint. Freedom isn't free of context, huh? Free, you can only be free from something. Isn't that fucking interesting? What do you guys think? Do you guys feel as if you're free? Or free in proximity to something? Are we free in America? Some of us are, or some of us feel more free than others, and are more free from things like police brutality, from certain threats, you know, threats of racism, threats that you won't be protected if racism is enacted upon your body, you know? Obviously, we're all free to varying degrees. In the context of America, we say we're free because why? I mean, what happened when we all came over here? These people. I don't even know enough fucking American history where the British like, no, you can't go. Did they let us go? I don't know why I'm saying us, okay? Because my family was in like Norway or some shit and didn't come over until the 1900s. Thank God. I mean, it's... I don't know if I'd feel okay with myself being like, my family came on the fucking Mayflower or whatever, you know. What was I just saying? Fuck. Freedom isn't free. Oh yeah. Did the Brits, were they like, you can't go? Does anybody know? Were they like, you can't leave? And then they were like, fuck you, I'm leaving for my freedom. Because if that didn't happen, that seems kind of silly to say like, oh, we established freedom from the Brit. Yeah, I know there was a war, okay? But they let us go, right? We were initially a colony, right? And then we were like, actually, we're out. There was a war, LOL. Shit, I forgot about that war, damn. Reagan girl says, if there's nothing to be free from, does freedom even exist, period? Well, that's the question, right? What do you guys think? In our most free state of nature, quote unquote free, if we're just butt naked in the woods, am I free? If a man stands butt naked in the woods, is he free? Answer the question. What do you think? Yes, there was literally a big war. Motherfucker, I know there was a war. It's fucking 4th of July. Okay, I know there was a war. I'm just, like, the moment they left England, were they like, you can't go? Like, did they have to sneak out on the boat, is what my question is. Did they, like, sneak out in the middle of the night? Huh? Or were they like, okay, we'll see you guys later. You're gonna go colonize the Americas. And then once we got here, they were like, actually, fuck you, I want my freedom. Freedom from the Brits. Serious question, though. In the state of nature, uninterrupted, are we free? And maybe a better question to ask would be, as soon as some sense of what am I talking about? Bitch, I said what I'm talking about. Better question. As soon as some sort of government is established, some sort of social contract, then are we not free? What is true freedom? I mean, the more you think about the concept, the more it doesn't even make any fucking sense. Freedom? We always are like, we had freedom, but we don't say freedom of what? And as we've just been discussing, you can't be free unless you're free from something. Freedom always has a direction, right? I'm free from what? What am I free from? Okay, they didn't sneak out. Good. See, that's all I wanted to know, okay? They knew they were leaving on the boat. They were allowed to leave. They didn't have a war near the boat. Wait, are you saying they had a war before they got on the boat? Because that's lies, right? You would know. You're from Britain. I wonder how that went down. Like, they're like, guys, we're just gonna, like, go. Did they have to pretend like they were doing something else on the Mayflower? They were like, we're just gonna go check out the Americas. Like, we'll be back. We'll send for you. I don't know. And I don't give a fuck. Yeah, man. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, I feel like freedom. Do we value freedom? That's a question, too. Because it's like, okay, like we're saying here. There's No freedom without something to be freed from, right? And obviously, there are many things to be freed from: British people, capitalism, slavery, you know. But, my people want freedom from the United States. We're a colony. Ooh, where do you live? Fuck that. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about everything right now. Shit. Why do we desire freedom? Like, what is good about freedom? Do we desire freedom? What the fuck is freedom? Is it almost like a religious concept? It feels spiritual. I mean, in the way Americans use it. Like I'm saying, you know. We just say we have freedom. Freedom from what? I value the concept of freedom. I mean, what do you think in the United States of Triple K America? Oh, Puerto Rico, hey. Yeah, shit. I support you wanting to be freed from the tyranny of United States of Triple K America. Fuck that. But why is freedom? I mean, what we talk about the ethics of freedom. Why is it more ethical for somebody to be free than to not be free? What is the mechanism of action here with freedom? I would say the less interrupted or burdened you are as an individual in proximity to your peers or to the person who is burdening or coercing or oppressing you, then why is that something to be desired? We need to articulate this. Do we value freedom? Can I get some people in the chat? The basic concept of freedom. Sorry, by the way, I'm just winging this right now. I just hop on every holiday. I didn't even advertise this upload. I'm just here to chill and try to stay on brand by talking about what is freedom, but I have no game plan. I'm just free. I'm free winging it right now. This is free jazz. This is free improv. This is art. Because, you know, I desire the concept of freedom. I believe it's a thing to desire, to attain, and to establish. But why? Blotter says, we can't ever really be free because we inherently infringe upon others' freedoms. What do you mean by that? I think you're onto something really interesting here. We can't ever really be free because we inherently infringe upon each other's freedoms. Because to think about the question I just posed a second ago, as soon as we enter into some sort of contract with each other, aren't we giving up a freedom? We are putting limitations upon ourselves, you know. And doesn't this limitation already sort of exist in nature? As soon as I'm in the presence of something else, then our mutual existence, I mean, it has so many variables where my existence could easily infringe upon yours. Whether we're going to begin to compete for food, whether we're going to find each other sexy and boink, be the new Adam and Eve. Reagan girl, I value it. Freedom has many different levels that are based in the context it's being related to. I think, my brothers and sisters, that if we think freedom is a thing to be venerated, then we need to be able to articulate why. Because to think especially of a thing like the United States of Triple K America, I saw an article on this today. Someone was talking about, it was like Bloomberg or something. I didn't even read the article. I just saw the headline. Something about how the Declaration of Independence isn't what you think it is. And I have no idea if the article went into this idea. But I think the Declaration of Independence and specifically the part in the Declaration of Independence where it says we have the inalienable right. I don't know the language. I'm not looking at it. to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, these concepts are so often cited when we do things like try to come up with certain legislation in America, when we have our public discourse with each other about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, which is grammatically incorrect, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. Go look at it. It's so frustrating. It's not a sentence. It's fucked up. But fuck! God, it's so hot in here. What was I fucking saying? My body is creating limitations on myself. I'm not free from the turmoil I'm experiencing in my fucking body right now. Ugh. Oh yeah, the Declaration of Independence. This document isn't even like really a legal document that any of our structures of government are actually beholden to. And isn't that interesting? Because people really talk about it as if it is, as if it establishes some sort of precedent in the legal sense in the United States of Triple K America. But it's interesting because the relationship between the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, I mean, this thing is not really articulated. It's just sort of this like vague, it's almost like an artist statement, for those of you who are artists, which I know many of you are. Like, this is my paragraph summary of what I'm about, what I do with my art. That's what the Declaration of Independence kind of is for the body of art, or the body of work that you could call the Constitution, where the law of America is actually established. The justification, it's sort of created as the justification, but not really. It's not literally beholden to this document. And isn't that interesting? Because if it was, then we could do things like find easier ways to legislate around the problem that we experience in America with gun violence, and with healthcare. If I truly have the right to life, to liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, if I really did have this right in a legal sense, if this was something like a constitutional amendment instead of some nice little language in the Declaration of Independence that doesn't really mean anything because it's not really a document that establishes any sort of real law in America, then we could talk about how, all of these unaffordable healthcare fees are impeding my right to life and my right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Same with gun shit, I don't have the freedom to leave my house without fearing that my neighbor is gonna fucking shoot me, And I mean, the language of the Declaration of Independence in particular is sort of troublesome. We hold these things to be self-evident. What the fuck could be self-evident? That we have inalienable rights? What do you guys think? Do we have inalienable rights? I absolutely don't think that we have any rights outside of a system that establishes rights. There's no rights in nature. In nature, we're all fucked. Nature is pure chaos. I mean, we still exist in nature, obviously, but you know what I'm saying, But then how can I then rationalize that I think freedom is a thing that we should work towards? That people should be equally free. I think that that's the thing that we're really trying to work towards, right? It's not that freedom as some sort of abstract concept is something that we can attain because, like we're saying, freedom doesn't really exist. Freedom from something exists. So there's no point in saying we're just going to work towards fucking freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from coercion. Freedom from abuse, These are the things we want. And so... So how do we word this? If it's our job to articulate the problem and what we desire, what the fuck do we do? If you were asked to give up your dream for freedom. Freedom is defined by limits. Interesting. I agree, Phil Mitchell. Blotter. Yeah, it's a give and take. Freedom is kind of a utopian concept. Do you think it's a utopian concept? Because, like, what is the most, like, abstract freedom? I think this is actually interesting because this is kind of a problem, I think, that I observe in certain anarchist thinkers. Like, I feel like the philosophy of anarchism, and anarchists are so anarchic within their own philosophy that I wouldn't say most anarchists even resemble each other with their philosophies. Because I guess no rules, bro. Do what you want. We all have freedom. I don't think it's well organized enough to even say what like the goals or objectives of anarchy are for any group of them. It seems to like change dramatically between each individual, but it's kind of this idea that supposes the more abstract, generalized freedom you have, that's a good thing. But what's the philosophical justification for that, right? Because you can't just strive towards anarchy because you value freedom. Because, like we're saying, freedom is something that doesn't exist in the abstract. It exists in proximity to something. So you would have to give me a good reason for why if I'm in a government that is less centralized and there's more quote unquote free societies, free from what? And then aren't I just not free from my local community? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a firm grip on anarchist philosophy, but the vibe I get from them is that they just sort of feel like the more freedoms from a centralized power, the better. Which, in my opinion, doesn't really make sense, you know? Because when you look at what's going on in America, I mean, I don't think that there's no clear answer as to whether or not you would even want to gravitate towards more decentralized power or more centralized power. Because when it comes to issues of like the state versus the federal government, I think so many issues could actually be better helped by centralizing power, by creating changes at the federal level instead of allowing the states to do whatever the fuck they want. And this whole system of federalism, where the states oftentimes have certain freedoms to do whatever the fuck they want, this I think kind of, and the federal government has this or that freedom to tell the states what to do. I feel like these kinds of problems will just recreate themselves, especially in a sort of anarchistic society. What would that be like with only states then? Only states, no federal government? Would you want that? Especially for those of you living in fucking Alabama or whatever? Why do I think that my local community would have my best interests in mind any more than, you know, wherever else? Of course, the context of America complicates this greatly, especially when it comes to issues of racism and shit, you know. I think a lot of communities would be better helped by being able to establish their own systems for criminal justice, policing, whatever the fuck, you know. But this is a very contextual problem. What would you do? I'm reading. Phil Mitchell. Yeah, no one can ever be free to do anything. Oh my god. William. Freedom to make our own decisions. Wasn't it... Huh? Is that religious? Wasn't it religious freedom to think for ourselves? Phil Mitchell. Freedom from and freedom to are ideas that can be used to justify any position, to be honest. What do you mean by that, Phil? Can you expand on that? Yucky. Freedoms are granted by oppressors. That's very interesting. Because, freedoms are granted by oppressors. Well, can you desire freedom from something that is not another human being, you know? Like I was saying a moment ago, I desire freedom from the limitations being posed right now by my body upon myself, as if I'm not my body. Getting dualistic over here. But what about free from harm from the elements? Free from harm from the local wildlife population? I suppose you could in a certain context, but maybe it's best to avoid this kind of language, you know? Because it implies a passive role. I'm free from the violence of other animals. Do I really want to word it this way? I feel like that could become problematic, especially if we're theorizing about a thing like government or politics, you know? I think I'd personally want to word it more like, I want to create safety for myself. I as the active party, instead of the one seeking freedom from the oppression of nature. Reagan, I think true freedom in today's society is a myth because someone is always profiting off of another's pain. Yeah, I think a lot of people are coming around to this sentiment, and this is why we're seeing more and more anti-capitalist sentiments in the past few years, because people are identifying capitalism as a problem. But this is not a new development at all, right? And this is something I was talking about in Phenomenology Club earlier. Been feeling like a bit of a doomer lately, especially as I reflect on this reality, that all of these new narratives, or what feels like new narratives since many of us haven't seen them in our lifetime, about Marxism, about radical this, radical that, abolishing the police, abolishing prisons, it's no secret to anyone using this language that these are ideas that were really, started a long time ago. And it feels like, it's like, what have we been doing for 50 fucking years, Like going back and reading Angela Davis texts and shit, and reading feminist literature from the 70s and shit. It's like, wow, these are ideas people I'm watching in real time come around to. And it's just depressing, man, because it's like, this shit has been here. What have we been doing? Were we just rebelling against the generation previous to us? And we were just like, fuck you, I don't want your hippy dippy bullshit. And now we're rebelling against we rebelled, or I lost track already, but is it just like a process of rebellion, and then our offspring will rebel against us and they'll go more conservative again until the next one fucking digs up text from the fucking 1960s and acts brand new, like they're doing something novel, like we're on a path to something, to freedom? God damn it, I'm over it. Oh, hey, Mind Ranger, happy 4th, you fucking European. Kierkegaard said, we are all convicted to freedom. Ooh, did he now? Kierkegaard, he's funny. What do you think he meant by that? Yucky, because in nature I feel like freedom is being stronger than predators and prey. Yeah. And what is the difference, if I'm trying to seek safety or freedom from a bear oppressing me and trying to eat me, what's the difference between that process and myself doing it with another human, Freedom is a troublesome concept. I'm not sure I like this concept of freedom. I don't know what to do with it. Maybe it should only be talked about in the context of politics, Because, clearly the most explicit example, especially in America, is slavery, These people were literally not free. They had no freedoms under the government. And there was a group of people actively oppressing them through government. So clearly they lack freedom, But can a thing like that really be compared to something else? I don't know. A lot of what we talk about when we talk about freedom seems almost preventative, things like freedom of speech. It's not that freedom of speech is actually something that none of us possess and need to attain. It's more preventative, okay, I know from experience that governments tend to censor dissidents, and this process of censorship greatly inhibits the well-being of the people that the government oversees, So I'm going to preventatively take the measure to establish freedom of speech, freedom of religion, what have you, in order to prevent this kind of a thing happening down the road. But you have to be careful, right? Because if you just establish freedoms for whatever, just because you think there might be a problem, you might be, if you don't have a good justification for what the fuck you're doing, you might run into problems. Because, look at freedom of religion in America. What the fuck is freedom of religion, What purpose does it serve? I don't think on a fundamental level, it really serves any sort of purpose. But at this point, because it exists, we use it for a purpose. We put it to work, you know. Because if you take away things like the right to religious freedom, you know, then we get into issues with the fucking, I don't know, head coverings in banks for women who are wearing hijabs or shit. These are the kinds of things that can be simplified and taken care of with right to religious freedom laws. Like, I'm just citing that example because I know it's been controversial. I don't even know if the right to religious freedom has helped people out here. But, you know, you're free to not do, or freedom from religion can protect certain people from tyranny or whatever, you know. But like the right to religious freedom, I mean, it just it doesn't really make sense. Like, why is the right to religious freedom a thing that should be preserved, maintained? Like, what do you guys think? I don't see what it's supposed to do. It should be like freedom of expression, you know, which could solve issues like what we're talking about. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, I think is an important thing to fight for. It's not like we have perfect freedom of speech in America, but we do have certain liberties here that I think definitely should be preserved, and people should be highly interested in preserving them, not just politically, but also culturally. And this is a problem, I think. I don't care. Call me a fucking boomer, you know. But I think that, you know, to think of like Reddit just banned so many subs, a lot of which were just like, you know, I mean, a lot of them were contentious, but they banned Chapo Trap House, they banned Pink Pill Feminism, and some other feminist subs, like, you know, some of them were fucked up, but some of them were like, I mean, if you look at the list, it wasn't that crazy. And then people are like fighting now. People are saying like, why are we embracing censorship? And others are like, private companies have the right to do whatever the fuck they like. And that's true, because private companies should have the freedom to do whatever the fuck they like, right? But I feel like culturally, socially, you know, we should be careful to not embrace censorship, approve of it, smiling, you know. R.I.P. Chapo. I mean, I thought that sub was obnoxious, but who cares? They shouldn't have been banned, you know. It's like, we shouldn't be embracing this shit culturally, because cultural embracings of things is usually the first step to changing things on a political level, right? I mean, look at what's happening now with the protests. There's first a display, a cultural display, a social display of things being desired, some sort of narrative, an agenda, I don't know what you call it, my brain's melting. You know, first you signal socially, culturally that we want this thing, and then you take it to the legal level. Without social and cultural support, you're unlikely to find success in the political arena, you know. So this cultural embracing of censorship and just saying, well, whatever, private companies should be able to do whatever they want, even if you're critical of capitalism at the same time, you know, because that sort of seems to be the cop-out, where people will be like, well, private companies can do whatever they want. And then you'll concede, like, and I don't think there should be private companies that just have total monopolies on the internet and what we see or whatever. But that's not my problem. Overturn capitalism, you know what I'm saying? It's sort of like a cop-out. But I think we should be careful, okay? Because freedom isn't free, cause folks like you and me. Mind Ranger, is there freedom without opportunity? Does liberty mean more than freedom? What do you mean by that? What is liberty? Good question. I'm pretty sure it's just a synonym for freedom, but let's look it up. Yup, here we go. Liberty.
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 liberty,
Liberty. The quality or state of being free. Freedom! 1A. The power to do as one pleases. Ooh, I like that. B. Freedom from physical restraint. C. Freedom from arbitrary or despotic control. So interesting. D. The positive enjoyment of various social, political, or economic rights and privileges. E. The power of choice. See, Merriam's definitions are getting a little bit to the heart of the philosophical issue or question about the concept of freedom. Should we conceptualize it as an active process where we're working towards freedom in the most generalized sense, this nebulous sort of almost spiritual concept, which has an implied enemy or implied restraints, and this is what we're fighting against, even though we can't articulate it? Or the power to do as one pleases. So interesting. Everything's a fucking problem. Reagan girl, I stay extremely far away from Reddit. Yeah, Reddit is kind of nasty. Not big on Reddit, but they got like good, like, you know, image subs and shit. Bucko 5, who will? Power is an interesting word in relation to freedom, says Phil Mitchell. I agree, you know. It's this question of active versus passive. What do we want to conceptualize as being what, and where do we put it, you know? Because you can't start a government and say that we establish freedom from tyranny. Like, tyranny from who, you know? But you can start a government and say, we want to establish the power of the people to have power over their natural surroundings. The power to have some sort of defense when your neighbor tries to overpower you. The power to survive the elements. The power to build a fucking house. The power to have access to food. It's crazy. I don't know. Shit. My mind's melting. I'm just gonna leave you with these thoughts. What else you guys thinking about on this fucking day? Let's have an epilogue. Let's wind down. What are you guys thinking about? There's just like so much going on. Isn't it crazy, you know? I feel like my brain is maxing out. It's just like the news every day. It's just like, damn. I wish I had the power to process everything happening. And to feel like I had some sort of ability to distance myself enough from what I perceive is happening to make decisions about how best to plow through it. Not just in the now, but in the long term, you know. This is something I've been thinking about so much, and I swear I've talked about it on here before. Like, especially in politics, it's like, man, what are our goals? What are we fighting for? I don't want to be one of these assholes out here just being like, I'm fighting for freedom. Freedom from what? For who? For how long? You know? Because to think of strategy too, I mean, sacrifice is a big part of strategy. You know, sometimes the best thing to do is to wait and do this other thing if you want the next thing to happen better, you know? Like, I feel like a lot of us are kind of in this assumed mode of feeling like I want to reap the fruits of my labor in my lifetime, you know? Because who wouldn't? But it's just kind of assumed and a given, and we never even, like, criticize it, you know? Like, maybe we're fucking future generations by always being so focused on what's achievable in our own lifetime instead of working to lay the foundations for a better future for all people in the far future. Like, fuck. I'm so off today. I just like listened to too much American music and I'm stupid now. Oh yeah. Like in all of the public discourse we have in America, we have people talking about Marxism, about this, about that, revolution, yada yada. Isn't it curious how one of the core tenets of all of this thinking, people who claim to be radical leftist thinkers, even though most of them are just liberals, but isn't it curious how one of the core tenets of this line of thinking is this critical attitude towards nationalism and nationalistic perspectives, and yet everything I hear discussed is through a lens of nationalism. We're always talking about what's possible and what we should be doing within our own borders, which I understand from a practical approach, but if one of the things we would like to do is to move away from nationalism, then like, shouldn't we be theorizing towards doing things like more international outreach, establishing solidarity with people on different terms? We try to establish solidarity with our immediate neighbors in our shared nation, but like, why aren't we working for political aims with people in other countries? I mean, we talk to them all day long, but we leave each other out of our political discussions. It's like, you're there and I'm here, This is something I find very curious. Especially since in all of our individual countries, we seem to have very similar struggles. Why aren't we working to establish more international solidarity? Language is clearly a barrier to this, So we should all be learning more of them. Things to think about. Mind Ranger. I meant to introduce opportunity because I think freedom without opportunity is only demagogy. Demagogy. What is demagogy again? Let's look it up. Demagogy. Demagogue.
Demagogue.
A leader who makes use of popular prejudice and false claims and promises in order to gain power. So you said, I meant to introduce opportunity because I think freedom without opportunity is only demagogy. My brain is melting. Hold on, let me read this one more time. I meant to introduce opportunity because I think freedom without opportunity is only demagogy. Demagogy. What's a... Demagogy is also a leader a demagogue. I can't find a word for demagogy. I don't know if this is a word. Demagogue is a leader championing the cause of the common people in ancient times. I mean, what do you mean by all this, Mind Ranger? Give it to me simple, because my brain is fried from America activities. Reagan, to me this is the quietest fourth I've seen in a while. Yeah. I mean, how do you guys all feel out there in quarantine? It is kind of, it's getting to me a little. Because summer is like the only season I ever really go out and do a lot of drugs and dance in, smoke machine filled rooms to techno or whatever the fuck I'm doing in the summer. It's like the only season I really get out for the most part. So it does kind of suck to see it go by. At the same time, it's like, I mean, whatever. There's too much shit going on to care too much about the fact I can't go listen to some fucking techno. But it's getting a little frustrating. I'm just sick of washing my fucking hands. Like, I can't do it anymore. I'm so over washing my hands, Shh. It's driving me nuts. Mind Ranger, what I think about is whether mutual aid projects will create real communities or they'll wither away. Well, I think that that's really interesting because, like, myself personally, we have like our theoretical project, our theoretical government project, New Jersey and Phenomenology Club, where we try to theorize towards this hypothetical community where, we would establish these rules. We've already started to create some basic rules and all this. And oftentimes people will be like, let's build this community. Let's go get let's go get some fucking land and build it and live on a commune. It's like, that would be nice. But like you're saying, Mind Ranger, I feel like it's just gonna wither away, And this is part of my beef with this narrative, where people talk as if like decentralization of power is virtuous in and of itself. This is the thing we should be working towards, decentralizing, because centralized power is a problem. And it's like, is it really, The reason that I have no desire to go live on some fucking commune, because this is already possible. Why don't more anarchists just go start a fucking commune? You can already do this. Why don't people do that, Because to do that would be to essentially abandon a position you have where you can actually be helpful to old people. So personally for myself, I think that we need more centralization, especially to think of a thing like nationalism. We always talk about capitalism as a problem, but I think nationalism poses equally, if not greater, of a threat to the well-being of all people as capitalism does, I see nationalism, I would say, as a more serious issue than capitalism to the well-being of all people. So why aren't we talking more about destroying nationalism? Nationalism in and of itself takes on religious qualities. I feel like whatever we come up with should be a thing that can speak to the needs of all people, So this is why I have no interest in starting the New Jersey commune or any other fucking commune. Because maybe I could be free. But if my peers are not free, then who the fuck cares? That's not fun. I don't want to be alone. I want to be with all of you. Okay? Anyway, speaking of being with all of you, I've been here for 53 minutes. I'm sorry if this was barely intelligible. I just have a habit of coming on for every holiday and doing a discussion based on whatever holiday it is, so I did that. Thanks for listening to me. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or even if you didn't enjoy it. Just do it out of pity, like, oh, this bitch sounds like she's losing it. She hasn't been uploading. I'm just gonna give her a pity like. So do that. That would be nice. I'm gonna get out of here. I will start uploading with more frequency eventually, but I have no idea when. Come on into our Discord server. Oh, we also have a public Discord server now. I've posted it on the Phenomenology Club website, www.phenomenology.club. If you don't want to join the Patreon, join the public outreach server. We're still doing readings in American politics. I've uploaded those to YouTube already. The discussions we've done. We're meeting again tomorrow, actually. I'm going to post a super short reading. And then we're going to keep reading. After tomorrow, we're going to meet to discuss John Locke and philosophies of liberalism. And then we're going to discuss some Marxism. We're going to try to get educated as possible on different political theories, so we could talk about shit. I don't know. I hope you're all staying safe. And that you all remember that freedom isn't free. Goodbye.